Homeless Diary, Sunday, 11th of January 2026. I'm homeless in London, UK. I sleep in a tent. But for the last 2 nights I've been in a SWEP bed in a St Mungo's women's hostel because it's -1 degree. SWEP stands for Severe Weather Emergency Protocol. SWEP beds are only open in winter while the temperature is 0 degrees or below, which in London is never more than a few days. As soon as the temperature goes up to over 0 degrees, SWEP beds close and they kick all rough sleepers out, back to the streets to continue sleeping rough. For the last few days, as well as sub-zero temperatures, there is a storm with very strong winds and heavy rain. Storm Goretti. Torrential rain and very strong winds in near freezing conditions are just as hazardous as sub-zero temperatures. But London's severe weather emergency protocol only applies when temperatures are below 0 degrees. SWEP beds are only open because it's -1 degree, not because of Storm Goretti. I've checked the weather forecast. Tomorrow the temperature in London goes up to over 0 degrees. That means they will close SWEP and kick out all rough sleepers in London who are in SWEP shelters back to the streets to continue sleeping rough. Most rough sleepers in London cannot access SWEP and are left on the streets in sub-zero temperatures. There is no phone number that rough sleepers can call to be told the address of the nearest SWEP shelter, so we can go there. The only way rough sleepers in London can access SWEP is through reporting yourself to StreetLink and waiting for St Mungo's Homeless Outreach Team or Thamesreach Homeless Outreach Team for up to 72 hours to go verify you as a rough sleeper. But most of the time the Homeless Outreach Team don't come. It took me 3 attempts and 2 weeks for Thamesreach to come verify me. The only way to access SWEP is through referral from the Homeless Outreach Team. Even when St Mungo's or Thamesreach already verified you as a rough sleeper and the temperature goes below 0 degrees, they don't contact you to offer a SWEP bed. I've been verified by Thamesreach Homeless Outreach Team, yet they left me on the streets when it was below 0 degrees for several days at the end of December and beginning of January. Most ethnic minority rough sleepers in London are actively hiding from St Mungo's and Thamesreach Homeless Outreach Teams because they coerce and force ethnic minority rough sleepers, who have the right to live in UK on a one-way ticket abroad to sleep rough there, to falsify rough sleeping statistics in London. They call it reconnection. Reconnection is not voluntary. It's coerced and forced against their will. As most rough sleepers in London are actively hiding from St Mungo's and Thamesreach, and the only way to access SWEP is through St Mungo's and Thamesreach, they're left on the streets in sub-zero temperatures unable to access SWEP, such as when temperatures in London reached -8 degrees 5 days ago on the 6th of January 2026. SWEP is just a PR exercise to create the illusion that the Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, and London councils are tackling rough sleeping in London while leaving us on the streets. Most of the SWEP beds in London are not beds at all, but 15 mattresses on the floor in a dormitory in inhumane conditions. My SWEP bed is in a spare room in a St Mungo's women's hostel on Church Walk, N16. You would think that I'm warm and cosy in my SWEP room, while it's -1 degree and Storm Goretti is causing very strong winds and heavy rain outside. But no, I'm neither warm or cosy or safe. My SWEP bed is in a St Mungo's women's hostel crack house. All the residents are crack addicts who openly smoke crack in their rooms. A resident told me she deals crack from the hostel. The St Mungo's staff illegally condone it and allow them to smoke crack in their rooms so they'll stay. Because St Mungo's are profiting about £2,000 a month paid by Universal Credit for each resident. I have the windows open 24/7. But it makes no difference because the crack smoke comes under my bedroom door and round the doorframe, leaving me suffocating, very nauseous, dizzy and faint. It's causing me a sore throat and I'm losing my voice. Unlike in homeless shelters where you have to leave between 7 a.m. until 8 p.m, during SWEP I can be in 24 hours a day. But I'm not. The crack smoke is unbearable and every morning, I've left very early and didn't return until very late. I am severely disabled and in constant pain and have chronic fatigue and need to be housebound or bedbound a lot. Yet I have to drag myself out because of the crack smoke and carry all my belongings around all day because if I leave them in my SWEP room, they will get stolen. Every night, I've had to sleep with the windows open in sub-zero temperatures because of the crack smoke, so it's just as cold as sleeping outside in my tent. I've had to sleep in my clothes with one of my feather-down jackets on and my insulated hat. I would have slept in my -7 degrees sleeping bag under the duvet, but there are cockroaches in the room, and I don't want to get cockroach eggs on my sleeping bag. The very strong winds come into my room through the open windows and my belongings fly about. The rain comes in through the windows and makes my face wet. Every night, I've had to barricade my bedroom door with the fridge because residents have the master key and go into rooms looking for things to steal. My SWEP room is not in habitable condition. It's absolutely filthy, it's a wreck, it has no heating and there are cockroaches and mice. I'm autistic, I'm a vulnerable adult. I'm at risk of being used and abused by others because I can't read between the lines and don't understand their intentions. Yet Thames Reach homeless outreach team sent me to a SWEP bed which they know is in a crack house, leaving me in danger. No safeguarding at all. I have 4 conditions that I need to use the toilet urgently and often at night. Yet every time I need to go to the toilet, I've put off going because the crack smoke is even worse there. I haven't used the shower at all because the shower room is absolutely filthy with what looks like feces smeared on the skirting board and door. And the crack smoke is so strong it's unbearable. The shower room and toilet are 2 meters from the room of the crack addict who told me last week, on my first SWEP stay at St Mungo's Church Walk, that she smokes crack in her room. I left the crack house very early because of the crack smoke. The St Mungo's staff refused to give me the key, so I can lock my room when I go to the shared toilet, and go out all day from early morning until very late to escape the crack smoke. I called the St Mungo's reception to come lock my room so I can go out. The St Mungo's worker didn't come for a long time, delaying me leaving and making me very late. I went to a community cafe where I had free chocolate chip cookies, pakoras and a spring roll with tamarind sauce. I then went to a soup kitchen with a free vegetarian 3-course meal. The starter was carrot and tomato soup. They didn't cook enough of the main course and there was none left, so I had seconds of the soup. They later cooked plain rice. I asked for the rice in a takeaway container for my next meal. The pudding was cake. I asked the volunteers to put the cake in a takeaway container so I can have it tomorrow. I was out all day and didn't return until late because of the crack smoke. I told the St Mungo's worker my name and room number and that I am in the SWEP bed and can she unlock my room. She wrinkled up her face like she had no idea what I was talking about and what SWEP is. I repeated it twice more. Each time she wrinkled up her face like she had no idea what I was talking about. It looks like St Mungo's don't give their staff even basic training. The St Mungo's worker unlocked my room. Somebody had been in my room. I left the duvet smooth, but now it was all wrinkled up and not against the wall. As if someone had pulled back the duvet looking for stuff to steal. This is the 3rd time someone has been in my room while I was out, and yesterday someone attempted to unlock my door with a key while I was sat on my bed. The drug dealer was right. There are residents with the master key who go into rooms looking for stuff to steal. I barricaded the door with the fridge. It's not like I need a fridge because the whole room is a -1 degree fridge, and anyway I don't have any food that needs to be refrigerated. I don't feel safe in the crack house. I'm more in danger than sleeping outdoors in my tent. For dinner, I had 3 avocados from the free breakfast and half the rice takeaway from the soup kitchen. I saved the rest of the rice for dinner tomorrow. Tonight is my last night at the SWEP shelter, because tomorrow the temperature in London goes up over 0 degrees and SWEP will close, and they will kick all rough sleepers in London out back to the streets to continue sleeping rough. The only reason I didn't leave the crack house the first night is because I wanted to record videos to expose St Mungo's. I've recorded videos of my SWEP room, the shower room and toilet. I now have evidence of the dreadful conditions in which they keep rough sleepers in SWEP beds and emergency beds, as well as their hostel residents. Evidence that St Mungo's are blatantly lying to the Mayor of London and councils to get funding to run SWEP beds. Evidence that St Mungo's are blatantly lying to donors to get donations. Evidence that St Mungo's are blatantly lying to potential residents so they will agree to be referred to their hostels. I had to sleep with the windows open in -1 degree because of the crack smoke, so it was just as cold as sleeping outside in my tent. I slept in my clothes with one of my feather-down jackets on and my insulated hat. I would have slept in my -7 degrees sleeping bag under the duvet, but there are cockroaches in the room and I don't want to get cockroach eggs on my sleeping bag. It's worse than sleeping outdoors in my tent because it's just as cold, but outdoors the air is fresh and crack-free. If you are homeless or have been homeless in London and would like to share your experiences of St Mungo's or Thamesreach, I'm gathering evidence for future videos, such as your experiences of StreetLink, your experiences of St Mungo's or Thamesreach homeless outreach teams, being coerced or forced on a reconnection one-way ticket abroad to falsify rough sleeping statistics in London, being coerced or forced on a one-way ticket outside London to falsify rough sleeping statistics in London, staying in a no second night out, NSNO, shelter in Mare Street Hackney, Endell Street Covent Garden, Hither Green, Shepherd's Bush or Islington Super Hub, staying in a St Mungo's emergency bed, staying in a St Mungo's or Thamesreach hostel. If you used to work for St Mungo's or Thamesreach and are willing to expose how they operate, I'd like to hear from you. You can do this anonymously by describing it in writing by DM on Instagram.com/@LondonHomelessInfo. If you would like to expose a homeless charity, you can record a video on your phone and I will post it. If you're homeless or facing homelessness in UK, I have lists of where to get free meals and food, where to shower, do laundry in 100 locations in UK. Also, how to get temporary accommodation from your council and rehoused in England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. I also wrote homeless survival guides for UK, US and an international version for those of you elsewhere. The links are on my pinned post.